The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines, the path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to the journey within you. And today I have the pleasure of having another new friend. I love making new friends. And through this podcast community, we've been able to build relationships and bring people on after a pre-call. And I felt a connection. I love what this woman's doing here. And Stefanie is going to share her story with us. You know, guys, in my podcast, I love have people go back in their journey and tell us how it led them to where they are today. So Stefanie, welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. And I am really excited that we had a chance to connect. So I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So my journey is so interesting because it is so full of God's goodness and so much that has happened to me, really as a part of what I do now. I was in conventional medicine for 21 years. And within those 21 years, I saw a lot of things that didn't feel right. Lots of patients having issues with getting through their story to the doctor, with them not being heard. And it's interesting because, like I said, I've been doing this for 21 years, but it seems like a lot of this is really coming to light and more people are starting to have an awareness of it just in the last 4. Isn't that interesting?
It is. Yes.
So, it's all part of preparation, I feel, especially when you start to see through these lenses that usually God just flips on all of a sudden. And then you don't know what to do with the information.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really what it boils down to was, my own body autonomy was under attack. And I never thought in a million years that I would have to fight to be able to keep myself safe and to fight for my belief in the Lord and the things that he was telling me during this real, major spiritual battle. I just 100% spiritual battle. But I realized in that time the concept of body stewardship, and realizing that we have this ideology that it's our body and it's our choice, but it's so far from the truth because our body was created by God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if he's the creator, then he actually is the owner and we're the managers.
Right.
So if you don't go to the owner to know how to operate the procedures of how this is supposed to work, then how are you supposed to navigate these times? Right? How are you supposed to, how are you supposed to know when you are being deceived or when you are being gaslit, or what do you do with that? And so for myself, it was just a lot of prayer and fasting from social media, fasting from people that were influencing my decisions in a negative way. I just had to tune all of that out. And really just sit with the Lord and what he wanted me to do. And so ultimately, like I told you, I like to tell everybody I was delivered out of conventional medicine. The world would say I was fired.
We're not going to go there.
We're not going to go there, but either way, I'm okay with it because God's plan is always better than ours.
Yes.
And, finding those ordered steps is one thing, but finding those ordered steps and walking in them.
Oh, whole nother thing. Yeah. Yeah.
It's, I was just talking to a friend the other day about you just don't have any excuse when you clearly have, like, when God clearly shows you the path and what you're
Mhm,
supposed to do and you hear his voice so clearly, there's no
mhm.
excuse
No excuse.
not to do what he's telling you to do.
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't know. Yeah, you
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah. You knew. I plainly told you. Yeah.
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 Um, so I just want people to understand that they can stand firm in their authority and they can know that they have the ability to ask qualifying questions to their
Mhm,
doctors,
mhm.
to have a better understanding of their health conditions before they come into agreement with what the doctor is saying.
Right. Right.
Right?
I
Because
think they get, I wrote you there, but don't you think
yeah.
scarcity comes in?
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
I mean, we get intimidated by a doctor because we look at them as authority. And so when we
Hmm.
walk in there, we just basically hand them our life and say, here, take control over it. When, whoops, again, who
Yeah.
owns this body? You know,
Yes.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the education piece. I feel like that's where God has kind of put me in this gap of helping people to understand and be able to speak with confidence
Mm,
in in what they want to do for their quality of life, for how they want to live their lifestyles, because conventional medicine tries to put everybody in this box. I
yeah.
call it box medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and while that might work for certain people, it doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work for the majority of the population,
Right.
because there's so many factors that they don't take time to sit down and gain understanding as to, but why are we finding these health conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did my patient get here?
Mm-hmm.
How did my client get here? Why is it I'm continually having to give them more and more medication for more and more symptoms? I
Exactly.
don't hear any doctors asking that question.
No. Sadly, and it's so
Yeah.
sad because they're given this medication, the doctor, because they were told to use it for this
Mm-hmm.
illness. But yet again, the study hasn't gone back into, well, how does that help that illness? And how is it going to affect that person, that particular person? Because
Yes.
that medication is going to affect the other person a whole nother way. Nobody's the
Right.
same. So when you
Right.
put that in their body, everybody reacts different. And like you said, within how many weeks they're back because they have another illness. They have something else triggered. Well, let's just put
Yes.
you on this medication. And
Yes.
y'all, I'm gonna clear it now. I'm not knocking all prescriptions. I know there's some things
Yes.
that some people must take or may need to take. But again, knowing your body and why that medicine needs to work in your body, maybe temporarily, not full
Mm-hmm.
time, you're
Mm-hmm.
not on it for
Mm-hmm.
life.
Right, exactly. And I think that's a really good opportunity to talk about people being scared of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's what drives it. That's what drives the patient to the doctor, because they have these symptoms that they don't understand how to get under control.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, where's God's truth in that? Well, he would never put things inside of our body or give our body these signals and responses for no good reason. Like, he
Right.
doesn't do anything to harm us. He does everything for our good. And so what I like to do with my clients is reframe symptoms as a conversation that their body is having with us to bring new awareness as to
Mm-hmm.
what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you come from that angle, it gives you more opportunity to say, I'm going to sit in this for a minute
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to do some evaluation as to why I woke up with a headache today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Don't assume
yeah,
right away it's something else. Yeah. Find
yeah,
out what caused that. And I mean, a lot of times we know, but yet we
yes.
still feel that pull. Well, we got to go hear it from another person, a doctor.
And that's that validation piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that validation piece. And if there's one thing that God really drove home with me, it's you do not seek validation in humans. I don't care how many degrees that they have.
Right. Right.
Right? We are all flawed. We are
Mm-hmm.
all broken at some point. We
Mm-hmm.
are not perfect. And that's why we need Jesus, because that is the only way we have like discernment over the people that are in these fields, even my field, in
Right.
integrative and wellness space. There is so much infiltration into leaning into the supplements really
Mm-hmm.
specifically. It's you're
Mm-hmm.
just changing the situation. It's
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals or it's
Or
supplements.
supplements. Yeah.
You're not changing the behavior,
Right. Oh, I agree
right?
100% because like, I'm in the supplement world and I know there's some that we should all take. But again, you've
Mm-hmm.
got to know your body. Like what I take is not right for the other person. And I've
Right.
tried to tell my girls that, like just because you're on this doesn't mean the person that you're talking to needs to be on it. So just to make a
Exactly.
sale or just to have the thing. I don't want that. I don't,
Yeah,
that's not my reason for behind this. I want to help you in your health journey, but let's think about what you're getting and why you're taking it and how it's helped me. But it may not help you in that same way, So we do have to
exactly.
know those things. And I'm not a doctor and I'm not degree it like you with the, and doing and the deeper dive that you do. But I can help them get started anyway and not have to feel like they got to run to the doctor every time something happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and this is where I think it's having an understanding to when you are in the supplement realm and you are making a business out of it, like make sure that you have an understanding of the supplements and the things that you are selling and make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you know exactly um who is looking for what you have and know how to explain it from a way of, and I hate to use the word functional because I feel like it's always like
I know. It's
overused,
just
but
a fruit.
really
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
functional.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and I think if you have that understanding of, I think Sally would be perfect for, this supplement because it sounds like she's got some similarity to what
Mm-hmm.
I had going on.
Mm-hmm.
Send them the information, educate them. But at the end of the day, I always put people in prayerful action. I
Mm.
always tell them, please take what I'm saying and pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I don't know everything. I
No.
I am just a willing vessel for the Lord and how
Let
I
him work
ask him
through
every
you.
day, exactly,
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
me, use me. And he will, but
Mm-hmm.
we have to make sure that our intentions and our motivations are coming from that place to begin with.
Right.
And I think that's where the behavior
Disconnect.
should change a little bit, and the
Mm-hmm.
disconnect needs to kind
Mm-hmm.
of be like, hmm, let me just think about that for a moment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um and I think supplementation and I also think medication could work beautifully hand in hand as well, because the majority of the people I work with, they are very complex, hard cases. And
Mm.
these are people that doctors cannot get any kind of grip on how to help them,
Mm.
um, because they're overlooking the simplicity of what
Mm-hmm.
needs to be looked
Yeah.
at, you
We've
know?
made a mountain, but it's right here.
Exactly.
If you just come right
Ex-
back down this mountain, it's right here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they get so wrapped up in the health condition and in
Mm-hmm.
the diagnosis that they forget to look at how they got there. They
Yeah.
forget to look at their sleep patterns. They forget to look at their hydration. They
Mm-hmm.
forget to look at activity levels,
Right.
and I hate to say it, but you know what? We got to have a conversation around poop and digestion. That is
Yeah.
huge,
Big time.
you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Sleep
Yeah.
habits, all
Environment.
the
We need to,
things.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So following really simple framework to break down a complex case is one of my specialties. I love
I love
helping
that.
people to understand things from that perspective
Mm-hmm.
because it defuses fear,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? Like
Well,
it
and it
defuses
takes them
fear.
off the thought of their diagnosis, because so many want to live in that diagnosis, and once they claim
Yes.
it, then they become it. That's what I feel. I know,
I
I
believe
had the
that
titles
wholeheartedly.
and I call them titles.
Mm,
I was given the
hmm
title of fibromyalgia. I was given the title of sarcoidosis. I was given the title of thyroid. I chose not to live in
hmm
those titles, you
Yes.
know. And yeah, I went for all the medicines. I did all the things when I first, because why? I was scared. Those are big
Yeah.
words when they start telling you all that stuff. And I'm like, what? What? I've got this, I got that. What do I do with that? And
Yeah.
so, of course, I went on all those regimens of medications, and it was a lot. And I was like,
hmm
after I met my husband, I was like, I want to find another doctor. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be on these medicines. I don't feel well. I should be feeling
Yeah.
well. And so I went to another doctor and he tried to adjust my thyroid a little bit and it sent me bonkers. And I was like, take me off. Just take me off. I'm going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I knew God
hmm
was saying, you don't need any of this stuff. Get off of it. And so
hmm
I did. I weaned myself off of everything and went off. And, of course, some doctors are like, no, 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 no. But I was like, no, this is my body, God's body. I am not going to stay on this stuff for life. Because what does that mean? You're
Yeah.
going to have to increase this. You're going to have to increase that as I get older. And
Yeah.
I've been on no medications for these diagnoses for years, 27 years at least, um,
hmm
because I made that choice, not to live in my
hmm
diagnosis.
Right. Which makes you well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It makes you well. Oh my gosh, this is such a good conversation because it really segues into people chasing health.
Hmm.
And, you know, a real good friend of mine and colleague, she was just teaching on um, chasing and pursuing.
Uh,
And it is so important to understand when you are chasing versus pursuing because it looks very different in your actions and in
hmm.
your intentions.
Hmm.
And we have been conditioned to chase health.
Mm.
And people think that health is this destination that they're going to get to, that when they get to that destination, that everything is just going to fall in alignment and they can finally do the things they're holding off doing. Well,
Yeah.
the reality of the situation is health is a journey, which
Hmm.
means if it's a journey, it means you are going to have seasons of flat tires. You're going to have seasons of a chipped windshield.
Hmm.
You may even be knocked off the road for a little bit while there's some deep repair going on,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It's who you allow to help you on that journey that makes all the difference. And you got to make sure, I mean, in my personal opinion, you got to make sure that Jesus is in the navigation seat, you
Yes.
know, and
Yeah, I
that
love what
you
you
have,
said there about
yeah,
Jesus at the wheel. I mean, yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But the thing is you want to still be, you want to have the keys, you want to be able to steer. You just need help with where to put in the navigation coordinates sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and when Jesus is the center of all of that, you can't go wrong because then you get connected to people that God is asking, use me. I'm a
Yeah.
willing vessel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
hears that and he goes, I know whose seat you're going to be in.
Yeah. Exactly. He makes the
You know?
connections for you if you're open to what he has for you. And that's the
Yes,
same thing I did with my body. I was like, okay, I'm not making this choice to let the medical field have control of the wheel. I know that,
exactly.
there's great people out there and I respect my doctors, and it gets so tickled with my doctor now. He's like, once I get you in here, I have to do everything because you don't ever come. And I was like, that's the whole point. I'm
That's the
not
whole
coming
point.
here. And he's like, my potassium, I was telling you, is kind of going a little weird. And I'm like, I'll do the medicine for a while, but I want to off of it. I don't want to be on a medication if I can help it. So I've got to work on that. We've got to go back, you got to do the blood work and all that, check it
Yeah.
again. But I was
Mhm.
like, he's like, yeah, I know, because once I get you in here, I've got to make sure I do all the tests and everything so that we are good for a year because I only go once a year. And I was
Yeah.
sick a couple of weeks ago. And everybody's like, are you going to the doctor? Should go to the doctor. I was like, why? Why do I need to go to the doctor? I'm not,
Yeah.
I'll be okay. I'm letting my
Yeah.
body heal, and
Yes.
is it true? Like so many with fevers, they think once they start getting a fever, they start popping all the medication in. I'm like, let it work. It needs to do its thing.
hmm
So, it's not just
Yep.
what we're conditioned to do. Um,
Right.
but
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you mentioned, so you mentioned labs, and I'm really glad that you did, because looking at labs from an education and functional perspective versus a pathological perspective are
Mm-hmm.
very different. And what I want people to understand is lab is just a tool. It
Right.
is just a snapshot in time as to what is going on with the cellular functions of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And what conventional medicine doctors are not educated in is looking at a lab and having an understanding of where the client or the patient is when they get their lab done, right? Rarely will you hear, okay, were you sick? Did you have, were you exposed to any new exposures? What season of life are you in? Are you a menstruating woman? Are you a non-menstruating woman? All of these things have a big impact in the values that you see on those
Mm-hmm.
labs, because we are constantly being able to kind of adapt to our environment and
Right.
adapt to the season in life of life that we're in. And a really good example would be a postmenopausal woman. Her cholesterol would be much higher than somebody who is non-postmenopausal, but they don't take that into consideration
They
when
just
they.
automatically, you've got high cholesterol, put you on medicine. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so what we're finding is that more women that are in that postmenopausal phase are having issues with hormonal imbalances. They're
Mm-hmm.
having more cardiac issues, and it's all because of some simple missing pieces that these doctors are not educated on, but they have the opportunity to
Yeah.
work with someone like myself to help navigate the
Navigate
well
them through.
care.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And my hope is that, doctors hear this podcast and really listen to the conversation that's going on too, through their patients, through practitioners like myself, through speakers like you. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you just humble yourself a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
have a little humility, you'd be surprised what you can
You
do
can
with that.
actually do, yeah. I think it's the
Yes.
fear too, don't you think? Because the doctors are
Yes.
set at a certain level and they've got to keep up the protocol. They got to bring in the money. They got to sell so many drugs. It's awful that they're pressured to do that,
Yes,
and they don't even know
absolutely.
what they're handing you. I mean, I had a
Mm-mm.
client on a couple weeks ago, and she worked in the pharmaceutical world. She was a scientist.
Mm.
She knew every component going into these medications and developing them, and then she fell ill. And when she did, what did they do? They started putting her on these medicines, and it was heart related. And next thing you know, she's not getting better. And she starts thinking, I can't live like this. And so she went back to her doctor thinking, I think it's one of the medicines that's causing this. Of course, they're not such an agreement with that. And so
Right.
she's like, no, I've got to start taking myself off of these medicines. And so she started taking herself off the medications, and it wound up being the very last one before her symptoms started going away. And
Wow.
by getting herself off completely, she's well. Her heart is back up, fully functioning. They were telling her she was going to have a heart transplant. Yeah, scarcity. They scared her to death.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
so she
sure did.
grabbed on because she's like, oh God, I can't, I got to do this. I got to get well. She wasn't getting
Mm-hmm.
well. She could
Mm-hmm.
barely, she was walking with walkers and wheelchairs and all that. And then by the time she got everything off, she walked in, drove herself to the doctor, walked into that office, and they're like looking at her. And she's like, yeah, you know. So be an advocate for yourself, your body. God created you with the brain too to use
Absolutely.
and knowledge from
Absolutely.
people like Stefanie here that can help you navigate through that. I mean, I believe in having that second source of someone helping you when you're nervous and scared about what you're hearing. I know my
Mm-hmm.
body's been stressed since August because of what we're going through and my husband being diagnosed and with cancer. And I thought maybe that's why it's playing into my potassium being all kind of out of whack. My mom had it. I don't know if it's hereditary,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a lot.
Yeah. It is a lot. And, stress has a really big impact on the body, far bigger impact than people really give it credit for.
Mhm.
And it doesn't even understand the difference between a good stress when you're out exercising and when you're under something like emotional stress
Yeah.
or, environmental stress. Stress is stress, and the body's going to
Mhm.
respond accordingly. And most of the time, when the body responds, it's usually a negative feedback. It's you get indigestion, you have issues with being able to keep your electrolytes balanced. You can't sleep well. You're waking up in the middle of the night. Blood sugar dysregulation, um, all very simple if you think about it, and all very intentional if you give yourself an opportunity to sit with what is going on and really identify, where do I need to course correct and make some shifts.
How about the word alignment?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Getting
Mm-hmm.
in alignment has been something I've been working on because, with everything happening, I know I got to stay in alignment with all this,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and not get so overloaded with the stress. We had our mountains and valleys of it, and then things have kind of evened off. But again, I just rely on God totally to work through me and for me in all this and keeping me healthy through
Mm-hmm.
this. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like with the sickness that came in, I'm like freaking out because I didn't want him to get sick. Well, of course he got it because it's in the house. You
Right.
try everything. I thought I did everything to keep him from getting it, but he didn't do so bad. So that was good. And we did all the natural, just listening to our body and taking care of resting. So many people don't
Mm-hmm.
want to rest. You have to rest, let your body build back up. And I would just rest. And my kids are like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm actually laying down." You know, they're not used to that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And rest can be a weapon, and the enemy knows it.
mhm,
Um, and so what I thought was really interesting is I heard a great concept about rest and sleep being completely different things.
right.
And I think we forget that resting also means surrendering. Resting
Mm,
also means that is time that we are building trust in the Lord to do the work while we
yeah.
just simply be still.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I love that so much. Yes.
yeah. And I think when we get to that point where we have a sickness that is making us be still,
Yep.
right? It's so much more of an effect on us because we're like, how did we get here? And again, it just goes back to identifying the behaviors and the habits that we do every single day and knowing, you know what, I am not resting enough.
Mm,
I am just putting the pedal to the metal, and I'm not being still.
mm,
There's so much chaos. There's so much confusion. Why? Because I'm giving all of my time to my emails. I'm giving all of my time to
mhm,
social media. I'm giving all of my time to this person who just keeps taking and taking and taking from me.
mhm. Oh, not my drink over.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, I didn't. It's good. I
um,
was a book that I'm reading, and I'm gonna tell you because it goes so good. It's the Focus, it's
Focus.
called,
Uh-huh.
and it takes one word a week. And my word this week is silence. And
Ooh,
it's
I love
talking
it.
about, and it ties into all the scriptures. And it's a great, it's an easy read, but it's a word a week. So like I start on Sunday with my word, and I read those 2 pages of scriptures every single day because it
Mm,
comes out differently every day. But it's just talking about that. How often do we really sit in silence? How often? And they say
not
it's
very.
hard because we're so
Hmm.
used to something going or something in our hand. And we don't realize our brain is just like, whoo, you need to just chill a minute and be
Yeah.
quiet and just
Yeah.
hear your own breath, right? Hear your own self
Hmm.
breathe and take it
Hmm.
in. So it's been teaching me this week about that, about silence and resting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a really good tip would be leave your phone in your bedroom or in your purse if you go to the bathroom. Don't take it with you.
Oh, I've been practicing that more because
Right.
really, I mean, that's where we all take them, right? To the bathroom.
It's
And I've
right to
been
the
like,
bathroom. Yeah.
and then I'm like, I'm just not taking that in there. Why am I doing that? And I'm just leaving it
Right.
in my office, and not taking it in there with me because I don't need
Yeah.
it. And if somebody
Yeah.
calls, that's what voicemail's for. You know,
Exactly.
we're so afraid we're going to miss something or we don't answer
Yeah.
somebody back right away. And right there, that is taking your stress levels up a notch every time,
Oh,
you know?
yes,
And
absolutely.
so I've stopped the thought I have to answer somebody back so quickly. In fact, somebody messaged me like 11 something last night, but they're on California time. I
Mm,
didn't. I saw it this morning at 5 a.m., which would have been way early in the morning for her. So I was like, oh, I'm not answering that now. That would be awful because she may
yeah.
hear it. And so I just left it while my day got busy. And so I finally answered her back and I was like, "Ooh, that was a long day. I just now getting back to you." But it felt good. I was thinking, I didn't have to rush and answer her. She's not hanging on waiting for me to answer her back because we were just chatting. Wasn't something she was, on pins and needles if I didn't get back right away. Um,
Right.
Even in business stuff, you don't have to answer back so quickly. Think,
Right.
take time. You'll be more present when you do. And
Hmm.
same with your illnesses and stuff. If you, like you say, if you'll just connect with the one who
Hmm.
created you
Hmm.
and let him show you what he's trying to teach you through this, illness or whatever he's got you down. When I had neck surgery, I had to go through that with him, and I was so blessed because I was in good health. I didn't have to come home with pain medicine. I did so well, and I was just so proud to be able to just be okay, not have to say, here, take these pills for 5 days, because you need them. I didn't need them,
Hmm.
you know. I would have been so sick feeling that whole time if I'd
Yeah.
taken them. So
Yeah.
you have to want it, and we have the resources available for you. Tell us
Absolutely.
about the program that I'm going to put in the show notes, but tell what you're offering.
Oh, yes. So I have a simple start program. Basically, it just gives you an opportunity to put your well care profile together. We sit down and we just really identify some of the areas that need some light shed on it. We go over usually old labs. And like I said, it's very different when I do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
from an educational perspective versus, a diagnosis perspective. I want to tell people when I work with them, any kind of diagnosis you think you have, we leave that at the door, all labels, everything, it just stays at the door. I just want to know what is going on inside
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how can I help you navigate that, right? And
Right.
so the Simple Start program is really exactly what it is. Most people that have um, complex and persistent conditions, it is really hard to know where to start. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
what it is just a very simple framework that I work from. And I say framework because framework is flexible and rules are rigid. So, we always want to make sure that we are tailoring things to you and your needs, and then identifying the needs over wants. And really that accountability piece, I feel like a lot of people really need. I don't care who you are, you cannot hold yourself accountable.
Mm-mm.
It just does not work.
Nope.
So accountability is a very big factor. And then also the acceptance. What do you do with this information? Most of the people that I work with, they have the awareness. I mean, look at what you can go and find out on the internet,
Right. Right. Google,
everybody goes,
your
yeah,
best
Dr.
friend, or
The
YouTube.
University of Google, the University of TikTok, the
Yeah.
University of YouTube,
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it too.
Oh, yeah.
But let's steward over that a little bit better and let's really understand what the information is and apply a little bit of wisdom,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And the wisdom comes by knowing your own body and knowing what's good for you
mm-hmm.
and what your intentions are. And so really the program really helps you to align with where it is you need to focus. And that's what we do within our first phone call together, alongside going through the lab work and kind of explaining um, how the labs indicate certain body systems function all the way from the cellular level to the body systems level. So,
Nice. And
yeah, so
I mean, that would be so beneficial just to understand your labs, because again, that's another thing that we just say,
yeah,
okay, the doctor said it's high, the doctor said it's low, but why? We never hear
but
the why.
why?
We
Yes,
never hear the
yes.
why. It can't
Mm-hmm.
explain. I mean, like I was talking to you on our pre-call, there's things in my labs that showed up this time. I'm like, what? What is that? Epstein Barr? I mean, I was
Right.
just like way thrown off. And he can't even, I asked him, and it was like he couldn't even explain it to me. And I'm like, okay, just a simple answer he gave me, but that didn't answer my question. I want
Well,
to know more.
yeah, and Epstein Barr, if believe it or not, like there's so many people out there that have positive
Yeah.
Epstein Barrs.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because the inflammation level in people's bodies so much higher than they have been ever. And that's because of everything that we're exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
We have daily toxins we're exposed to. We have forever toxins that we're exposed to that are
Right.
still within our bodies that people don't even know because they have no education around it. There's this tiny little awareness that's happening. I'm watching a shift a little
Yeah.
bit here and there on social
Yeah.
media. But I just think that when people have a better understanding of what is being held up inside of the body and how that really aligns with using labs as a tool, not a
Yeah.
diagnosis like piece, not an opportunity to go ahead and slap another label on it. Because
Hmm.
the other thing that I'm seeing too is, I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of people are getting on board with all this genetic testing.
Yes.
And oh, if I just find out if I have the MTHFR gene, that's going to be the root cause.
That was a
Well, guess what?
requirement. That was a requirement with Tim when he was diagnosed with the cancer and wanted to do the radiation. That was the next
Uh-huh.
step. We had to do the genetic test. And he's like, we should have said no. I mean, it was wasted money that insurance covered, but still it was like ridiculous. And
Yeah.
he had nothing. I mean, nothing showed
Yeah.
up in there. It's like, that
Yeah.
was just a waste of time.
Well, and cancer is a metabolic disease in my world. And so if cancer is going to be a metabolic disease, most people, it's not going to be from a gene. It's going to be from something in the environment and certain behaviors and things we're exposed to along the way that flips that on. And what
Hmm.
people don't know is that we all have cancer genes in our
Hmm.
body. We
hmm
all have cancer genes in our
hmm
body.
It's just
And
whenever they
so
decide to
whether
start activating.
yeah, exactly. And like genes are not the know all be all, that you are not going to be depicting your life based on what your gene profile looks
Yeah.
like. You
Yeah.
know, that is not it either. So I'm watching all of this kind of transpire with all of this specialty testing, and I'm seeing a lot in the functional medicine space as well. And I feel like that's where God's really set myself apart and my collective of practitioners apart, because we want to go beyond all of that. We want people to have an understanding as to maybe why. What can you
Yeah.
do with these
Right.
mutations? How can you navigate it? I mean, can you still have the quality of life that this person over here doesn't have? I mean, yeah, that this person over here has because they don't have that mutation
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
It's just there's so much confusion out there because there's too much information and not enough focus and wisdom behind it.
Information without education.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
there's, and Tim's like, it's just another study, Laura. That's why they want to do it. It's a study being funded. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that ugly, but that's what it is, and that's
Yeah.
why they do it, and all these people. And then what it also sets up scarcity again, because now if you do have this mutation, oh gosh, get your kids. The kids have got to get tested now and blah, blah, blah. They just want to keep it trickling down into the family. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, of course the kids were on pins and needles waiting to hear if he had anything that would carry through or did.
Yeah.
And it didn't. So they were all relieved, but it doesn't negate that you still might get cancer. That's
Exactly.
your body
Yeah.
can do whatever. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Exactly.
tough one. You have to go round and round on that, but you do have this program available. And
Yes.
how many is it weeks, or how does that work?
Well, it really depends because what we first do is we do that initial call and we just kind of do like what is it that you're looking for? What's the pieces that are missing? So it kind of goes in different levels depending on your budget and where you would like to start. So really within the call and getting your wellness profile put together, it depends on you and what it is that you have decided after we're done speaking.
Okay.
So, yeah, I
That just
can't
gives them
really
a picture of what they're dealing with and how you might can go
exactly.
about a plan for
Yeah,
them and to move
yeah,
further. Yeah, if they still
exactly.
fit. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That'll be so beneficial for many to at least look into that and and see. It may be something that does help you um, with your health further on instead of just relying on doctors. And
We
letting.
equipped you.
Yeah,
We equipped you. We give you a bunch of tools to put into your toolbox.
yeah,
And once you graduate and our time is done, because here's the thing, I love all my clients. I love our relationships, but I want them to graduate.
yeah, yeah.
I want them, I want them to go out and I want them to just do what God created them to do, be the amazing souls that they are supposed to be, and know that they can stand firm And they have the ability to ask the questions and pull those tools out whenever life just happens, because that's what's going to ultimately happen. Like I said, this is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
And we just need the tools. We just need the tools.
You never cannot have enough tools in our tool belt, the
Exactly.
right tools. But
Exactly.
first and foremost, our Lord, and having him guide us. And I love that you do keep him in the center of that. And that's your practice, to be sure that people know that, without him, you aren't who you are.
I'm a nobody.
So as we come to the close, it's been such a pleasure to have you. And I have a stack of cards here. They have scripture, and I sit and shuffle them while we're talking. And so whatever comes up on top is our scripture for the day. And it said, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Matthew 5:6. So that's our verse for today.
That is so perfect.
Is that not? I mean, I get chills because I just shuffle. I don't look at him because I want the Lord to lead it. And he always puts the right one on top. And it's just so beautiful. So, one more question I always love to ask my guests is, tell me something you love to collect.
Ooh, something I love to collect. Memories.
I love that. I have had that answer so many times now, and I see why. Because, as we all know, 2020 rocked all our worlds. And it's made us more aware of taking that time to make the memories count. And then for us, and when our world, and we had to pivot so much in August, every day counts, every minute. I'm with him all the time, and I've always been with him working. But now you think harder about the moment you're spending with someone.
Absolutely.
And it's sad that it takes that sometimes to change your thought, to do that and think more of it. Be intentional with your memories, right? Creating space to create those memories, like with your kids and doing family things. You have to create that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Stefanie, thank you for being on my podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.